In Singapore, buying a condo is not an easy process, regardless of whether you're upgrading from a HDB or buying your first home. Picture this, you're so excited after searching many months for something that ticks all the boxes, and now you can't wait to put down the offer to secure your next home. But what if I told you that even before putting down this offer, there's a good chance that you have already committed 3 very large financial mistakes. And these mistakes would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. The scary thing is that you can go about your life or even live in a house and sell it after without you even realizing that you made these mistakes.
This is the worst!
The reason behind this is simple. You're focused on the wrong things, the wrong numbers, and the wrong people. You're not alone here because many of the buyers I see are making these same mistakes as well. Many home tour videos out there focus solely on the unit and not you, the buyer. In this video, let's do the opposite. Let's talk about your perspective as the buyer. These mistakes would apply whether you're buying a HDB or a condo as long as it's a resale unit. The first common mistake I see is making a decision solely based on your budget and not the fair value of the home. After many months of searching, you'll probably be very happy the moment you find a unit that ticks all the boxes and is within your budget. For this video, let's use this unit here at Watertown in Punggol as the example. It's asking for 2.33 million. And now you can't wait to put down the offer to secure the home. Maybe at 2.33 or 2.3 million. In your mind, everything is good, but this is where the problem starts. The problem is that you should not base your offer on the asking price. Yes, it may be under your budget and to you, it may be acceptable, but in reality, this could actually be overpriced. I'll be talking about why this is the wrong number to focus on in the second mistake that we'll cover. But for now, you're probably wondering, if I don't focus on the asking price or my budget, then what number should I be focused on? In order to understand why making a purchase decision solely based on your budget is a mistake, we need to look at what the fair value is in the case of a 3-bedder unit here in Watertown. Currently, the highest price paid is 2.19 million, and this is for the exact same unit size. I mean, just this shows you that the listed price of 2.33 million is way above the fair value. But this is not an isolated case. You can see here that even for other projects, the listed price can be a huge gap from the last transacted ones. It is not uncommon for even a 100k difference. Have you seen cases for yourself where the asking price was a lot higher than the last transacted prices? And what was the most extreme case that you've seen? Now granted, there are some elements of the unit that cannot be captured in the last transacted prices. For example, higher floors tend to command a premium. But besides the floor, the condition, the facing, the exact stack plays a role too. But besides just not overpaying, there is another practical reason to base your offer off the last transacted prices. Therefore, in order to understand why making your purchase decision solely based on the asking price or your budget is a mistake, we also need to look at COV, or what we call cash over valuation. In real estate, COV occurs when the purchase price is above the bank's valuation. This difference cannot be loaned by the bank and needs to be covered in cash. Now you may be asking, what does this have to do with the last transacted prices? This valuation is based on a formula which is based on the last transacted prices. Therefore, straying too far from the last transacted prices means that you risk needing to come out more cash than the 25% down payment. If you want to find out more about how COV works, I'll link my video up here. If you're new here, my name is Daryl, and in this channel we talk about real estate in Singapore. In this video, we're talking about mistakes buyers make when purchasing their first condo. But in other videos, we've also talked about some red flags you may want to avoid when doing your unit selection. So remember to like and subscribe if you want more unbiased videos. The second mistake that I see many other buyers making is not negotiating. Back to the example earlier, some buyers may be exhausted after finding their unit and just want to close a deal. This is how buyers can potentially fall for the listed price here. As you've seen, the listed price can be very different from the fair value, or what we call the market value of the home. We've seen that these are two separate numbers, but that's not all, because actually there is a third number. Therefore, in order to understand why not negotiating is a mistake, we also need to understand what this third number is. This third number is the lowest acceptable price that the seller is willing to accept. This, of course, is the magic number that every buyer wants to know, but it is not available on any website. I'll talk about some ways that we can shed some light on this third number in a bit, but in order to understand why not negotiating is a mistake, we also need to understand this concept used by sellers and agents called price anchoring. In most cases, the listed price will be higher than the seller's expectation. In negotiation, this is called price anchoring. Chris Voss, a former FBI negotiator, describes price anchoring as a strategy to make your target price seem more reasonable. This is why when you buy a unit, you should always be prepared to negotiate. In fact, the seller is expecting you to negotiate, and that's why they've inflated their listing price. But now comes the big question, so how exactly am I supposed to negotiate my purchase? Negotiation is more of an art than a science, so there are many ways you can go about conducting it. It's hard to explain every nuance, but I can give you 3 general tips. The first is to do your homework to establish a fair price of the unit. This can be done by looking at past transactions like we talked about earlier. But a home is more than just a maths equation. Therefore, the second tip is to do a mental exercise to establish what you would reasonably be willing and able to pay for this unit. This is done by looking at how much you value the unit, as well as looking at your own finances. The first tip that I shared was focused on the unit, while the second tip was focused on yourself. These are two very important things to focus on when we enter a negotiation. But we are also forgetting the third and most important thing that we need to address when we enter this negotiation. And that is a focus on the seller, his situation, and his motivations. Therefore, the third point is to understand the seller's situation, motivation, and needs to best structure your offer. For example, is he in a rush to sell his home? Maybe because he needs the funds, or maybe because he has already purchased his next home. Many people think that the negotiation starts when you're going back and forth on the price. But no, the negotiation starts when you contact the agent. During the viewing, your ears should be peeled and you should be asking all the questions to establish the seller's motivation, as well as what his magic number is. In fact, this is exactly what the agent is doing to you when he's asking you questions. It's not just about making small talk. The negotiation has started whether you realize it or not. Some questions you can ask would be how long has the unit been on the market? What was the last transacted price? What the seller's timeline is like, his reason for selling, or if he has already purchased a second unit. The offer that you will be putting forward is more than just the price. Understanding all these helps you to tap on the art of the possible and best structure your offer. Then if you can meet him on some other criteria like maybe the timeline, he may be willing to go down a bit on the price. But these are just some general tips. In negotiation, there are many other nuances that you need to be sensitive to as well. If you bought a HDB or a condo before, did you negotiate the price and was it successful? Or if you're a seasoned real estate agent, let me know if I'm missing anything out. The last mistake that I see buyers make is incorrectly assessing their budget. Many buyers I see have not thoroughly assessed how much they can pay and tend to get a sticker shock when they see the price tag of 2 million or whatever the number is. Let's be very systematic about this. There are two main financial components when it comes to buying a home. First, the down payment. Taking the example of this unit here, let's assume our negotiation was successful and closed at say 2.2 million. That means your down payment of 25% will be 550k, of which 139k needs to come from cash, and the remaining can come from CPF. Don't forget there is also a BSD which is around 79k. Remember to factor in other costs such as your renovation as well. The question that you should be asking here is, do you have this 600 or so K available? And are you comfortable with putting all these into your home? After you put all this into your home, will you still have a safety net? Now on to the second component, which is the monthly installment. A unit like this, you have a monthly installment of 7.4k. Again, you should be asking yourself if you're comfortable with paying this number every month based on your income. Now just because you're able to fork up this amount every month, that does not mean that the bank would approve your loan. In Singapore, banks undergo strict regulations on how much they can lend you based on things like your age and the income. The best way to understand how much a bank would loan you is to do an AIP or an IPA, and do this ASAP with multiple banks. It's free to do. In the meantime, if you want to understand more about the rules that the banks need to play by, I'll link my video up here. Regardless of whether you're buying your first home or upgrading from a HDB, buying a condo is not something that should be taken lightly. In this video, we've seen 3 mistakes. The first is to focus only on your budget and not the fair value of the home. The second was not negotiating, and the third was incorrectly assessing your budget. But maybe let me ask you, do you agree with these 3 mistakes, or is there anything else that you feel like even more severe? If you think about it, buying a home is so much more than just understanding the unit. It is about knowing the market, knowing yourself, and even knowing the seller. If you're new to real estate in Singapore and you're looking for a condo, another challenge that you may have is choosing a good project. If you want some case studies of what to look out for both in a safe and unsafe investment, check out my videos on the Panorama and the Greenwich here. Or if you're captivated by the example that we used in this video and want to find out what I think about paying $2 million for a home in Punggol, you can check out my video here too. If you found this video helpful and want more unbiased Singapore property videos, remember to like and subscribe.